Next on People in the News.
So, Maddie, CNN's here. You ever watch CNN?
Oh, hey, man.
A glimpse behind the scenes of Friends. The sitcom we've grown to love.
Friends was a lot more revolutionary to the history of American television than it gets credit for.
Storylines that never panned out.
A big romantic connection was going to be between Monica and Joey.
Fads that infiltrated our culture.
It's like, come on, my hair? I'm doing other things, too.
Insider information revealed.
From everything that we knew about Courtney or had seen her on Family Ties, we thought that she'd be a perfect Rachel.
And now, after a decade, these 6 friends say goodbye.
The cast backstage just got so emotional they started crying.
A revealing look at the cultural phenomenon of Friends. Now on People in the News.
Hi, welcome to People in the News. I'm Paula Zahn. Saying goodbye to old friends is never easy, especially when their lives have become part of our lives. For a decade now, 6 fictional characters have dominated and defined not only American television, but also pop culture. As Friends heads towards its final episode this week, a look at those on screen and behind the scenes of this sitcom phenomenon. Here's Sharon Collins.
Hello, we didn't get married?
Married? That's ridiculous.
Ross and Rachel.
I love you.
Monica and Chandler.
Is it a meatball sub?
That is incredible.
Joey and Phoebe.
The fact that this has almost been a decade, that Friends has almost lasted a decade, is crazy to me.
Did I say congratulations?
I feel like we're all still 25.
6 friends on a first-name basis. 6 people we can't seem to get enough of.
It's inevitable when you watch somebody every week, you become interested in their personal life. I mean, gee, Jennifer Aniston goes home to Brad Pitt. That's really fascinating.
6 actors who started out as unknowns.
These were actors who were sort of having perennial careers of being in pilots that didn't go far. None of them were stars. None of them had huge success.
6 characters who have taken up permanent residence in popular culture.
Look at me. I'm Chandler. Could I be wearing any more clothes?
People started to talk a little bit like we talk, and that's always fun, interesting to hear. The other night, somebody came up to me and went, well, could you be more famous? That was fun.
Why don't you take the mic, Jennifer?
But why these 6? And why this show? And after 10 years together, are we finally ready to say goodbye?
This is the first one where I think this absolutely feels like we should stop now. It's the perfect time. The characters are positioned right. You don't want to stay too long at the fair.
The television landscape was a different place when Friends hit the air in 1994. 60 Minutes ruled the ratings. Family sitcoms such as Home Improvement and Roseanne were the top comedies, with Seinfeld charging fast. Television was changing.
Always popular.
Yeah, in the mid-90s, I mean, the networks were already going pretty young. I mean, they wanted to focus on this 20, 30-year-old demographic. NBC wanted to attract viewers who looked like the Friends. And that's what they got.
The idea for Friends came from creators Marta Kaufman and David Crane. They, along with fellow executive producer Kevin Bright, had been the driving force behind the racy HBO sitcom Dream On.
Hi.
Oh, no.
We spent our 20s living in New York, and
This is part of a little group of...
yeah, there were just a group of us who were best friends.
And action.
So we said, let's just do a show about that. You're out of college, you're not quite sure what you're going to do next, where it's going.
All your decisions are yet to be made. They're all in front of you. Everything has potential.
We didn't want a high concept. Originally we said, well, what if they all work together? Another show where they all work together? And it was like, no, they live, some of them live near each other, some of them don't. It's just about a group of friends.
How are you feeling?
Well, my apartment isn't there anymore because I drank it.
Simple as it seems, the Friends concept was unusual.
Up until then, the history of the sitcom had essentially gone from the nuclear biological family, Leave It to Beaver, Donna Reed, Father Knows Best, to the workplace family. That would be things like the Mary Tyler Moore Show and Murphy Brown. Here, this was more an out-of-workplace family.
The network wasn't sure the idea would fly.
I remember originally that there was a little bit of fear at NBC, just having 620-somethings being the center of a show.
Yeah, they were originally pushing for an older character. What if there's the guy who owns the coffee house, or a cop who comes in? It's like, oh, no, please.
Our feeling about it was that if the stories are good, and if you can connect with what's emotionally true in the stories, then anybody will watch.
The show's concept held true to the original idea. However, the characters themselves were changed slightly.
Chandler and Phoebe we didn't see as primary as the other four. They, in our minds, were a little more secondary. They would be our comic relief. And Matthew and Lisa were so phenomenal that they just became part of the whole thing and became a true ensemble.
6 or 7 when you think about it. Gilligan's Island, the Brady Bunch. It's that perfect kind of number right around in there where you can get people, one who's an intellectual, one who's kind of crazy, one who's really sexy. And I think we had that there. There really was a sense that Friends was Gilligan's Island in a Manhattan apartment.
Why have we been together?
I don't know. In fact, originally, the pairing of Ross and Rachel might have taken a back seat to another romance.
We originally were imagining that a big romantic connection was going to be between Monica and Joey. This is before it was cast, and then once we got them, we went, well, now that's interesting over there. What about Monica and Chandler? You know, you don't know. The show starts to tell you things.
When we come back,
Las Vegas.
From Boys Will Be Boys to Misfits of Science, what the cast members were doing before they became friends.
The idea that you would put these 6 almost nobodies together and you would have magic, nobody saw that coming.
Welcome back to People in the News and our special look at Friends.
Mark.
In 1994, Friends was ready to go before the cameras.
The one-sentence description of the show is, it's that time in your life when your friends are your family.
The challenge was to find the perfect actors to sit around Central Perk.
We saw many, many versions of what that show might have been.
This is a real ensemble, and I think to do that, you need to cast people who aren't stars.
Want to hear my slogan?
Yes, please.
Sure.
Okay. Ursula, she's our man. If she's not Employee of the Month, nobody can.
One familiar, if not famous face the producers found was that of 31-year-old Lisa Kudrow. She'd been playing a supporting role on the comedy Mad About You. The daughter of a renowned headache specialist, Kudrow graduated from Vassar College with a biology degree, but had been bitten by the acting bug.
And I always wanted to do it. I always loved it. And I graduated, and my brother's best friend happens to be John Lovitz.
He got Saturday Night Live and started working, and was on his way to becoming this huge success.
Acting! Brilliant!
And that was really inspirational to me. So I thought, all right, let's try it. Let's give it a try.
Kudrow joined the Groundlings, an improv comedy troupe in Los Angeles. She'd also won the role of Roz on Frasier, which didn't work out.
Yeah, I got fired. And they were so nice about it. They called, the producers called themselves, and we're just so sorry. We think you're great. This has nothing to do with your talent. You can't come away with this thinking this is any kind of sign other than maybe you're supposed to do something else, which, no, and they were right.
It's a totally different situation. It's apples and oranges.
Another friend who was cast early was 27-year-old David Schwimmer. The son of prominent Beverly Hills attorneys, Schwimmer attended Northwestern University studying theater. Later, he co-founded the Looking Glass Theater Company in Chicago with his own group of friends.
You have that kind of give and take, and everyone's going through something, but it's a family. It's a second family.
David Schwimmer had auditioned for us for another pilot, and he just stuck in our minds.
In fact, of all of it, when we were writing the pilot, whenever we were writing Ross, we go, you know who would be great for this? Was that guy, remember? And so...
He was kind of in the back of our minds.
And so when it was done, he's the first person we offered a part to.
Whoa, Sid, you look hot.
For For the role of Chandler, producers chose 25-year-old Matthew Perry, an actor with a resume filled with TV guest spots, failed pilots, and off-the-air series such as 1990's Sydney.
Billy, get a life. I am trying.
Perry was a teenage tennis prodigy with dreams of turning professional. Instead, he chose to follow in the footsteps of his father, actor John Bennett Perry, who was best known for appearing in Old Spice commercials.
And the only way I would get to see him on a regular basis was on television. He would call up and he'd say, okay, I'm on, I'm on Hawaii Five-0 at 8 o'clock tonight. And I was like, great, I get to see Dad. And I think I generated kind of a respect for the business that way.
Now, Rich, when she taught you to kiss, this is at camp?
Another future cast member who'd been paying his dues was 27-year-old Matt LeBlanc.
Matt LeBlanc grew up in Massachusetts. His father's a mechanic. His mother was an office worker. He was an only child and segued into modeling. Very much the beefy, hunky kind of guy.
There were tough times in New York. There were very lean times. I worked as a short order cook, and I had others, various jobs just to squeak by.
LeBlanc, too, was a veteran of multiple minor television roles, including a spin-off of Married with Children.
Goodbye to you, Al, and to your 2 lovely daughters.
So what? She's a woman. So what?
Perhaps the best-known actor who would join the cast was 30-year-old Courtney Cox. Originally a teen model from Alabama, she first made her splash in a 1984 music video.
I think the Bruce Springsteen video, the way that opened doors for me, that was a fairy tale. Being in a video for 24 seconds, dancing like a total moron, yes, that's a fairy tale. The fact that I got into, see casting directors because of that.
Cox went on to win a recurring role on Family Ties, playing Michael J. Fox's girlfriend.
We originally saw Courtney as being Rachel, and it was really Courtney that came to us and said, no, I'm Monica.
I'm a senior. You are a nothing.
The role of Rachel would go to 25-year-old Jennifer Aniston, whose acting credits included the TV version of Ferris Bueller.
Keep a low profile.
The lowest.
Oh, my God.
And the low-budget horror flick Leprechaun.
Jeez.
The daughter of soap opera actor John Aniston, she was the last cast member to join Friends.
I knew Matt and the other Matt, Matthew, I had known, and so you just kept hearing the names of the people that were going to be doing it, and you just got more and more excited.
You don't know how it's going to end up. I mean, there were other actors who could have ended up in those parts.
Were offered and turned them down.
We don't like to talk about that,
no.
But it's true. And I imagine what this show would be with other people, and it's not the same show.
The cast was assembled, the chemistry instantaneous.
And cut. We saw that first run through, and I remember it was like you were watching a cast that had been on television for 5 years already.
I got chills up my spine. I don't think they were even really in the middle of the show yet, of the run-through. Got chills up my spine and just knew that was magical.
We kind of all bonded a little bit just because we were on this show that we all like, and we all kind of feel lucky to be a part of it. So it's just a lot of smiling the first week.
A lot of love. You might say that it was Camp Friends.
Or you might not say that, depending on, where your mind's at.
Depending on who you want to hurt.
See, I wouldn't say it, but Lisa would say it, which I find interesting. And fun. Sorry.
When People in the News continues, 6 new friends become icons, while the show quietly pushes the envelope.
There was a lot more sex talk on Friends than there had been in most television programs before that, but they just didn't make such a big deal about it.
We now return to People in the News and our special look at Friends.
With its cast of 6 good-looking 20-somethings assembled, Friends debuted in September 1994.
Ooh, she should not be wearing those pants.
Between the comedies Mad About You and Seinfeld.
Friends came on in the age Fox had arrived on the scene as well. And Fox had brought some pretty racy stuff on, Melrose Place. Those kind of shows were all playing during the life of Friends. And so TV was getting racier. I think that Friends reflected that.
Sometimes I wish I was a lesbian.
Did I say that out loud?
From the start, the show wasn't afraid to tackle sex and other sensitive subjects during the 8 o'clock family hour.
Okay, look, this is probably for the best,
Friends' first episode saw Rachel dumping her fiancé at the altar. Monica sleeping with a man on the first date, and Ross's wife leaving him for another woman.
She didn't know. How should I know?
And it just started discussing that stuff much more casually. There was a sense in which Friends was a lot more revolutionary to the history of American television than it gets credit for, or that it appeared to be, because it was just so blasé. It was just so casual about it.
I would never in a million years.
Action.
Friends quickly began generating higher ratings than its lead-in.
I think in a lot of ways what Friends connected to originally was that kind of Generation X, Generation Y kind of coming along. This was not a baby boomer show.
Friends made a promise to people who viewed it, which was that life could always be like freshman year in the dormitory. Okay. People coming in without knocking, friends all over the place, messing around. There was an extent to which Friends argued that American life could be perpetually a fraternity house.
Yeah, these are the good-looking guys on Friends, not the Italian hunk over there. Oh, hey, man.
Oh, hey, how are you?
Before its first year was over, Friends had exploded from freshman phenomenon to full-fledged fad. Coffee mugs, cookbooks, the Friends were everywhere.
It was almost to the point where you couldn't turn around and not see a Friends item, a Friends story, a Friends cover, a Friends poster.
It was a shock for all of us. I think, you know, for the actors, it was going from being able to walk into any restaurant or any supermarket and do what they would normally do on a given day to literally not being able to go anywhere without being recognized.
Television history is filled with shows that start out red hot and cool off just as quickly. Friends went from fad to the foundation of Thursday night television.
I think the reason that Friends could survive such an overexposure in its early days was the fact it was a really good show. If it wasn't a funny show that made you care, it wouldn't have mattered.
Blind dancing.
The closest example I could think of this in TV history would be The Simpsons, which also started out with this enormous penetration and overexposure, and then it kind of went away, and the show was able to settle in to a much more normal kind of existence within the culture.
Action!
The influence of Friends would soon be seen all over TV.
You saw a lot of shows that were trying to copy the tone, the look, and the style of Friends. Caroline in the City for a couple of years. Suddenly Susan was another hit for a short time on NBC, or Veronica's Closet. They were all pretty much set in New York, set, you know, among glamorous people.
While other sitcoms came and went, Friends remained in the top 10 in the ratings.
The characters are this kind of Rubik's Cube of relationships. You know, over the course of so many seasons, we've seen them pair off in different ways. And the writer's task has been to make those pairings believable to us and make the breakups believable and then make the new relationships believable. It's a very, very tricky thing to pull off.
By 2001, Friends was entering its 8th season, a time most sitcoms are on their last legs. The events of September 11th would show how much relevance Friends still had.
There was a moment there where it seemed that watching Friends after September 11th was tantamount to a patriotic act, that somehow this was a mark that we had survived.
And I don't know what that was. I think it was just maybe New York and we're friends and, you know, it's Friends.
The show had made a conscious decision not to deal with the attacks directly.
This was something that didn't feel like you could joke about. And at the same time, we didn't want to do a very special episode of Friends. And I think just making subtle gestures towards it was enough, because we didn't want to remind people about something that was painful.
That's really what Friends is all about. It is escapism. It is anesthesia. It is something to make us feel that we're temporarily in a world that looks and sounds like ours, but is funnier, is better, and is safer.
The show would finish the 2001-2002 season in first place. The first time in its 8-year history it had finished #1. It also achieved another first, an Emmy Award for Best Comedy Series.
We started to feel like the popularity of the show was sort of its curse, that anything that popular couldn't be that good, almost in a way.
We used to joke with the Susan Lucci of sitcoms.
Yeah.
But
it was very nice to win.
That was really fun.
Let's go,
Blinky.
Still to come, People in the News goes behind the scenes of Friends.
I'm acting like I'm dialing. Isn't that good?
And its creators wrestle with how to say goodbye.
How do we let them leave the show in a way that they feel these characters are going to be okay and they can leave it satisfied knowing that they're going to be okay?
They've been our friends for a decade now, setting trends and styles and simply looking good. So it is fitting that this year, one of the cast members graces the cover of People magazine's 50 Most Beautiful People in the World, Jennifer Aniston. But do you know which Central Perk pals have made the list before? And who is the most beautiful of them all? The answers when People in the News continues. They're the 50 most beautiful people in the world. For the last 15 years, they've been the stars whose smiles captivate the world. The first friend to appear on the Most Beautiful People cover? Courtney Cox back in 1995. And while Phoebe, Chandler, and Joey have made the list in years past, Ross has not. Jennifer Aniston's real-life hubby, Brad Pitt, has and does again this year. Joining him on the 2004 list, perennial favorite Halle Berry, tying America's sweetheart Julia Roberts with the most appearances, 8. And guess who's the father of 2 other beauties in this year's issue? Models Alexandra and Theodore Richards' dad is Rolling Stones guitarist Keith Richards. Keith has never made the cut. People in the News continues now. Call is on.
Welcome back to People in the News. When it comes to Friends, you know the cast, you know their lives, their love interests, and their catchphrases. But how does it all come together? And how will it end? Once again, here's Sharon Collins.
All right, I gotta go. I'm taking Ben to the park.
Oh, give him a kiss for me.
All right, bye.
Bye. Bye.
Later.
I am so sorry you got caught in the middle of that. I didn't mean to be so out there, but I am furious with him.
Wow, calm down.
The reason why the sitcom is the basic unit of American television is that they're easy to watch.
Why are you so mad at him?
There's got to be a comfort level. There has to be a sense that the show, it both entertains you and also gets you involved to a certain extent in who these people are.
You want to be on my list too? Keep talking.
I think Friends looks so inviting and easy the way they do it.
Action.
That you don't see how much work must have gone into constructing these characters, making them work, making them believable.
What are the secrets behind Friends' decade-long run? How did the creators, crew, writers, and cast put the show together?
What happens usually is the cast will get together over the weekend and hash out the story. We'll give it to the writers, they put their name on it, and then we show up, pretend like we never saw it before, and, you know, right?
Yeah, no, it's it.
So Joey's goal is to get the money.
In reality, a typical Friends episode began in the writer's room.
I think you could start off at hand twin and then build to hand triplet.
We always try to write based on our own experiences, but the problem is that we work so many hours that we've all run out of experiences, so we have no experience. And we fall in love in like a day.
Another challenge, finding a balance between the stories and character development, between humor and emotion.
Come on, I'm going to be late for the eye doctor appointment.
There are some shows, I can think one in particular, where Ross and Rachel break up.
I think you should go.
That the second act, the scene between Ross and Rachel, there are almost no jokes between them, maybe 1 or 2. All the jokes are coming from the other 4 listening in.
It's whatever feels right. I mean, sometimes you can go for a whole scene and there's maybe a joke and that feels exactly right. And sometimes if it isn't like popping joke, 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 you feel like something's wrong with the scene.
Creating a Friends episode meant developing storylines for 6 different characters, all equally important.
A lot of them dovetail into each other, which, you know, to come up with in a couple weeks that's pretty extraordinary writing.
Yeah.
The fact that the focus could shift, that was a great creative freedom that I think the writers and the directors had.
Okay, here we go, guys, and rolling!
It was a way to bring in odd subplots and focus on a character for 2 or 3 or 4 episodes and build a kind of story arc throughout the season.
Some story arcs were created, then set aside to be used at just the right time.
We put off getting Monica and Chandler together for years. After someone had the idea, it was like, it's too soon. It's right on top of Ross and Rachel. It's going to be too soon.
It was only going to be like a 3 or 4 episode thing, but everybody liked it so much they just keeping it going, which is really cool for us.
Other plot twists came as a last-minute surprise, even to the creators.
Season 8, when Joey and Rachel got together, we didn't know until halfway through the season that was ever going to happen.
Oh my God, that is great!
It didn't even occur to us. It was just we reached a point about halfway through when we were going, we need Rachel to meet somebody interesting. Or Joey. And that's interesting.
My hope is that we haven't gone any farther in a larger way, story-wise, than life does.
A typical production week began on Monday, with the cast and writers going over the script for the first time.
They go and rewrite. Tuesday, a new script, we rehearse all day, and they start working on the next week's episode. Tuesday night, the end of the day, about between 3:30 and 5, they come for a run-through of the whole show of what we've blocked and rehearsed.
The rehearsals also gave the cast a chance to make suggestions.
It's a weird thing because we have this idea of who our characters are, what would be, they're the ones who write them, created them.
I am so sorry you got caught in the middle of that. I didn't mean to be so out there.
The actors have learned how to develop these characters over the years, and the writing plays into that beautifully. The best Friends scripts are ones that are very character-specific and that really bring us closer to the characters that we've come to know and love.
After more rehearsals, shows were taped before a live audience.
The live audience would tell us whether a joke was just not good enough, and fortunately we had a writing staff that was fast enough to be able to change that joke right in front of the audience.
After Matthew says, yeah, in my eye, you go, me too.
I think if you're there watching that night, those moments really stick out in your head because it's like, how did they do that? It's almost like a magic trick. Well, that thing didn't work, but they came back with something new.
The result? Over 200 episodes, hookups and breakups, marriages and children, and a place in television history.
Number 200!
My guess is that Friends is going to join Lucy, Andy Griffith, Dick Van Dyke, The Simpsons, Seinfeld, The Cosby Show, as one of the 10 or 20 programs that will be in perpetual reruns from now until maybe ever.
Still to come on People in the News, marriages on screen, marriages off screen, America's fascination with the real lives of its friends.
Now back to People in the News.
I got the lead in a movie!
On screen, they're the best of friends.
Friends, in many ways, those 6 characters were the epitome of show business chemistry.
Off-screen, the 6 cast members formed a tight bond from the beginning.
We're just one happy family.
We really are. It just couldn't be more perfect.
The 6 actors on the show going from relative obscurity to what they became so quickly, that was a trajectory that they could only really talk to each other about. And I think that helped kind of unite them.
That unity would show itself in an unusual way. The cast negotiated their contracts as a group, asking for 6 equal salaries.
It's unprecedented for a cast to band together the way that cast has done.
There really was a sense that power in numbers that the 6 of them held really got them what they needed.
For the latest renegotiation in 2002, each cast member held out for $1 million an episode.
I think the cast of Friends is worth $1 million an episode easily, and you don't see the kind of faceless corporation that's making millions and millions and billions of dollars off of these people.
Their celebrity grew as large as their salaries.
It's kind of cool.
All 6 people on Friends were young, beautiful, on the make, and therefore interesting to watch what they did.
Jennifer Aniston's celebrity status sizzled even more when she married Hollywood hunk Brad Pitt in 2000. Both actors looked to their relationship for support in their careers.
Just being able to bounce ideas off someone, you know, off of your friend, your best friend, and also be able to cry when it's not going well.
Still, as one of Hollywood's golden couples, the tabloids often target Aniston and Pitt.
We've been in it for long enough to not take it so seriously, and it's usually always inaccurate. Now we can have more of a laugh from it when we do pay attention to it.
We're trying to figure out what both of our dream weddings would be like.
A relationship that's caused many onlookers to scratch their heads. The marriage of Courtney Cox and David Arquette.
They are a lesson in opposites. David is kooky, wild, crazy. Courtney is serious, balanced, mature. Between the two of them, they found a perfect balance.
They will soon add a third member to their balancing act. The couple's first baby is due this summer.
Lisa.
Lisa Kudrow also got married during the show's run in 1995 to French advertising executive Michel Stern.
He's just decent. I mean, he's like ultimately just a decent person, and I don't know. I'll start crying.
The couple have a 5-year-old son, Julian. Her pregnancy was written into the show, with Phoebe having her brother's triplets.
Too hard, too hard.
Family and privacy rank high on Kudrow's list of priorities.
Lisa really is very private. She doesn't hang out with other celebrity types. She really wants to be a mom and a wife and to stay home.
Normally we don't really sit next to each other or talk, Lisa or I.
David Schwimmer's also managed to keep a low profile.
Did you stop filming me?
He doesn't go to a lot of premieres and things. You know, he has his friends that he hangs out with, but he's not a real Hollywood type.
However, he's been coupled with his share of Hollywood beauties.
David has been linked to sort of a lot of women over the years. You know, he's dated various models. He went out with Natalie Imbruglia. He was out with the actress Millie Avital.
Matt LeBlanc and Melissa McKnight celebrate their first wedding anniversary this month.
Matt and Melissa met in 1997 through friends. Melissa immediately knew that this was the man she wanted to spend the rest of her life with.
In February, the newlyweds welcomed their first child.
They have 2 other children from her previous relationships, but this is Matt's first chance to be a dad himself.
Matthew Perry has been linked to a series of high-profile women, including Julia Roberts, Yasmin Bleeth, and Jennifer Capriati. However, it was his struggles with alcohol and prescription drug addiction that played out most publicly.
I got into a serious problem with painkillers, a painkiller called Vicodin, and that was mostly just to not drink as much as I was. I was getting too hungover, so I tried other things that would try to balance me out.
He feels the need to sort of share what's happened to him in the hope that other people can see themselves in it and maybe get themselves some help.
Perry's cast members rallied around him.
They completely embraced him, supported him, and again, were very protective. Did not really address the topic with the media, except in respect to say that they supported Matthew, and they were really glad he was getting better.
A camaraderie they say will outlast the life of their sitcom.
All of them say, even when the series ends, it will continue. The friendship will remain, and they will stay big parts of each other's lives.
Still to come on People in the News, how will Friends say farewell?
We now return to People in the News.
Just a few days from now, the last cup of coffee will be sipped in Central Perk. Apartments will be vacated for the last time. A familiar foosball table will be silent.
Finito. Enough.
After 10 seasons and over 200 episodes, Friends is coming to an end.
I don't think there has been a TV farewell since the end of Seinfeld that will be of this magnitude.
One friend will stick around. Matt LeBlanc is bringing his character Joey to a spin-off series next season.
Road trip!
It makes a kind of certain sense for him to move to the West Coast to pursue his acting career. And in that sense, it's a lot better than a lot of other shows. You know, when they tried to spin off MASH with the show After MASH and show the civilian lives of the MASH characters, that was a complete disaster.
Having an ace like Matt and a character that you know the audience loves, I hate to say it, but it's really ours to screw up.
For the rest of the cast, the challenge is to leave behind characters they've played for a decade.
The biggest risk they have to their careers is being forever becoming the character they play. When you are Henry Winkler, you become Fonzie.
Plenty of television stars have tried to jump to the movies. Some make it, some don't.
When you're on television, people feel like they know you. They really feel comfortable with you. And they have to feel like they kind of know everything about you. The secret to being a movie star is that there's some little part of you that people don't know. They always want a little more. There's something just a little mysterious about you.
The track record for the Friends cast at the box office has been mixed at best. Matt LeBlanc's monkey movie, Ed, was a critical and commercial bomb.
Julie!
David Schwimmer's The Pallbearer was DOA.
Look, lady, I'm not going to hit a girl, okay?
And Matthew Perry has appeared in a string of films, including Serving Sarah and The Whole Nine Yards, none of which have made him an A-list movie star.
You all right?
Yes. The guys are basically a washout as film actors. They have all tried, and not one of them has whatever that movie magic thing is.
The women's film careers have gone considerably better. Courtney Cox had a string of hits with the Scream series.
Well, that would explain my constant headaches.
Jennifer Aniston hit box office gold with Bruce Almighty.
Never seen the moon that big.
We really should have wasted.
And Lisa Kudrow received critical raves for performances in Analyze This and The Opposite of Sex.
You're probably a blessing in disguise.
Lisa Kudrow is great in any film, often in smaller independent films. Jennifer Aniston, I think, possibly is going to have a mid-level movie career as a leading lady.
Friends, of course, will never go away completely.
When we're up on, housing developments on Neptune in the year 3003 or 3004, we will probably be watching old reruns of Friends.
It will remain a slice of pop culture, a reflection of America at the turn of the 21st century.
You know, some people might argue that Friends is somewhat overrated, that it gets a lot of acclaim and attention because of its popularity. But I think this show's popularity speaks to its quality.
Just as the Mary Tyler Moore Show kind of took and domesticated the women's movement, Friends really kind of presented what the model of the new American family could be to an emerging young generation that was going to postpone the traditional family of husband and in-laws and all of the rest of it.
The Friends cast and crew taped their final episode in January.
As they started taping, they played the theme song, and everybody in the audience applauded. And the cast backstage just got so emotional, they started crying, and they had to stop everything and go back and do makeup again.
The day had its lighthearted moments as well.
Throughout the final taping, everybody was a little nervous because they were all really conscious of what a big and momentous day it was. At one point, Courtney Cox kept flubbing her lines, and Matthew Perry joked, "Somebody's going to get fired." And the whole audience broke up laughing.
But the question remains, how will these 6 friends say goodbye?
You can have some real head-scratchers like the final episode of Seinfeld. You can have these brilliant final episodes like the final episode of Newhart, which was just a dream referring back to the old Bob Newhart show.
The expectations weighed on the show's creators as they worked on the final season.
We say it jokingly to each other, but it's not a joke when you go, wow, this is our last first episode. This is our last Thanksgiving show. And there's an element of, well, it better be great.
Better be really special.
And obviously, as we get to the finale, when it's the last episode, yeah, there's a tremendous amount of pressure to make it good.
So, how will Friends end?
At the end of the day, all we can do is do our best and try to come up with something that's funny and surprising and hopefully make people cry a little bit.
For the millions who love Friends, the final laughs and tears come Thursday during a 2-hour farewell event. That's it for this edition of People in the News. Coming up next week, the legendary Carly Simon reflects on her life and her greatest hits. I'm Paula Zahn. Thanks so much for joining us. Stay with CNN for the very latest on what's happening in your world today.
For more on Jennifer Aniston and the rest of the most beautiful people in the world, pick up a copy of People magazine this week.